From the summit of Knockmahar I look on the lake, on fat Strathmore and its braw largesse of lochs, Blackloch and Whiteloch, Fengus, Marley, Cluny, where the bolstered curlers come. But back I turn northward and stand at nightfall under Glasclune, by the canyon cleft of the shaggy shabby Lornty, the shaggy shabby, the dowdy duddy Lornty that marked the clannish confine. There were two castles, two battled keeps, Drumlochy and Glasclune, that kept a blood feud beanly on the boil. The Satin Rares and the Gurn fell gaited either. I'll Paisley your fit, I'll Brackley your in the eye, and atween the scrogs of the dowdy duddy Lornty. Drumlochy's laird was a slew-eyed, dye-blue bloodhound, who fought as his sires had fought, with steel, cold steel, and said the other mugger couldn't take it. But Glasclune knew six of that. He was progressive, and to be in tune with the times was all his rage. Now one day he went out and bought a cannon, a queer old toy unknown to the lad next door. With this he gave Drumlochy a thorough pasting, dang doon his wall, gave his stately pile the shakes, in fact, block-bust him quite. The moral of this, said Glasclune, with ill-concealed hidalgo satisfaction, is that right and ready starter in the Donnybrook Stakes must still rise early to possess the field. Now wae's me Glasclune, Glasclune and Drumlochy, they bashed i' their blue by the backside o' Knocky. Drumlochy fought fair, but Glasclune, the deceiver, made free wi' a firework to blow up his neighbour. Then shame, black shame, aye shame on the bloody Blairs, shame on the Blairs, and sic waddy fou races. They think nae sin when they put the boot in the eyes of all civilized folk, to disgrace us. Ochone Drumlochy, Glasclune and Drumlochy, twa hearts on ae shiv, and a shitten larach. Evening is the worst, years as long as hours. Night's better, the heart's rebellious, arguing the toss. Whether at a given point, forestalling countermeasures, but allowing for comebacks, one should have, could have. And never wearies, uphill and downhill, toting its cargo, question and anger, make-believe and memory, up along, down along. Whether, at a given point, the objective situation, weighed up, found wanting, might not, would not, and never wearies, crossing and recrossing that disputed land, sizing up the obstacles, the features, sly dips and hummocks, patches of good going, impassable depressions, pits holding history's refuse, white earth, not earth. Blunt contours, hummocks of the dead, and the heart joins issue with the betrayed betrayers, bollocky death's eager beavers, randy panders of the whores of night, complacent bawds of the nothing. And this stagey night, all organdy and spangles, the sickly moon malingering. What was it Pound wrote? Moon, my pin-up. Think and think long, mouths full of blood, limbs full of wheels, eyes full of excrement, and never wearies, uphill and downhill, toting its cargo, question and anger, make-believe and memory, up along, down along, and never wearies, till dawn, noon, and evening bring years as long as hours. The Cell 2, Pro Memoria Dies Mirski. Memories of the undone, on narrow shoulders lean their atrocious weight. History's refuse, mass graves, the murdered. Corpse obedience, filing past, saluting even. Mattocks at the port, our own, the others. And never wearies, up along, down along, the objective situation, doom of the dialectic, weighed up and found wanting. Think and think long on all that horror history's Saturnalia, the tortuous power webs, the boxes, the alcoves, the souped-up ideologies, the lying memoranda, the body count, the tenders for crematoria, the wire, the ramp, the unspeakable experiments. White earth, not earth. Evening, the fall, and despair gathers like a stain on the white loin of the wall. A native of Maradi, which the Germans in their rather pedantic communiques used to call part of the Etrusco-Apennine. That was in the 44 period. Anyway, long before that, Dino Campana had got out of Maradi, and he used to sell his poems on sheets in the cafes of Florence. And he used to go around, he was very much what you might call a kind of Kerouac poet. And he went around, his only luggage was a copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Only Leaves of Grass, that was his only. Wherever he went, he'd maybe get a change of underclothes from the host or something like that. He went all over the place. In fact, he had a whole lot of jobs. He went to South America. In fact, one of his most beautiful poems is Travel to Montevideo. But he was this amazing maverick poet, meaning he was a poet. And he had this idea of the Chimaera, la Chimaera, being the true reality that all exists. I'm just speaking for him now, and he can knock me down with the present equipment. He thought of life, as being the only worthwhile life was poetry, which of course it really is. And he thought of the chimera, as being these moments of perception when you get in through the rocks of Leonardo's Virgin of the Rocks, and you suddenly glimpse the reality behind it, and that's it. So that's what's the chimera. Chimaera by Dino Campana. Ignorant whether your pale face appeared to me among rocks, or if you were a smile from unknown distances, your bent ivory forehead gleaming, young sister of the Gioconda, or whether you were the smile of extinguished springtimes, mythical in your paleness, O queen, queen of our adolescence. But for your unknown poem of voluptuousness and grief, marked by a line of blood in the circle of your sinuous lips, musical bloodless girl, queen of melody. But for your virginal head reclined, I, poet of the night, kept vigil over the bright stars in the oceans of the sky. I for your tender mystery, I for your silent blossoming. Ignorant whether the pale fire of your hair was the living mark of your paleness, or was a gentle vapour drifting over my pain, the smile of a face by night alone. I gaze on the white rocks, the silent sources of the winds, and the immobility of the firmament, and the swollen rivers that flow lamenting, and the shadow of human labour stooped over the cold hills, and again through limpid skies towards far-off free-coursing shadows, again and yet again I call you Chimaera.